What's your reaction to this? This is another bit of a this is this legal action which has now been confirmed in some ways, isn't it? So it's not entirely unexpected.
It's not unexpected at all. We've seen the tensions heat up between the U.S. government and Huawei, and frankly, this is in some ways a mirroring of tensions that have long been in place between Beijing, the Chinese government, and American tech companies that wanted to expand their presence in China. I do think it's a little ironic that Huawei is complaining about being shut out of the American market when the Chinese have been doing the same thing to the U.S. for a long time.
So do you think this lawsuit then, Tim, is going to be effective in any way for Huawei to build its case against the U.S.?
I highly doubt it. I don't think the lawsuit is going to get very far. At the end of the day, if the U.S. government cites national security concerns, there's very little that Huawei or any other Chinese company is going to be able to do to change the mind of U.S. government officials.
There's still a lot of confusion about what the U.S. exactly wants to get out of Huawei. Is there a sense that this is just kind of what they did with ZTE, a slap on the wrist here with a fine, or is there actually a motive here to basically strangle Huawei out of business?
Well, I don't think the U.S. intends to, nor will it be able to strangle Huawei out of business. You heard from the Huawei representative himself. Huawei has a presence in 170 countries, and it's a dominant player in China. It's a #2 cell phone maker in the world. It's a huge company, and they have plenty of customers. I think the motives for the U.S. government are several. First, there is a concern that no matter how much Huawei officials promise that they will never be used by the Chinese government, they cannot make that promise because Chinese law and Communist Party practice dictates that all Chinese companies are obligated to provide support to intelligence collection or any kind of security work that the government requires at any time. So, you know, the Huawei may be sincere, but it's very possible that the Chinese government could change its mind in the future. It's too big a risk.
Absolutely, there's quite a lot of derision when Ren Zhifeng, the founder of Huawei, did say that his company would refuse to obey Chinese law if he was required to participate in espionage. But having said that, how valid are the concerns that the US has? Nobody actually has blown the cover and actually shown how Huawei, if it is spying, how it's spying. And then we've got Edward Snowden's remarks, on the other hand, about the NSA and how they spy on everybody. So how do those two sit together?
So let's talk first about the U.S. government. Certainly, there's evidence that the U.S. government, coerced or somehow persuaded U.S. tech companies to cooperate with installing backdoors and spying technologies. Now, whatever you may think of that, it's important to note that in the American political system, that kind of activity could be exposed. It was exposed. And tech companies have an option to refuse to cooperate, and they have sued the government to refuse to cooperate in some cases. Those are not options available in China. One, you will not know, if the government doesn't want you to know, that the Chinese government is working with its tech companies to install backdoors and spying technologies. And two, even if the company resents it and opposes it, those Chinese companies have no legal recourse and no way to deny the Chinese government's demands that it cooperate. So that's a big difference. Secondly, what are the technologies we're talking about? We are talking about things ranging from installing hardware, little bits of hardware and chips that could be used to facilitate the collection of data in certain devices. Could be handsets, it could be actual network towers. We're also talking about software. If you design the software with espionage in mind, you can install it in a way that is very hard for other people to detect. So those are options that the Chinese companies have available if they are pressed by the Chinese government to cooperate.